Salutations, salamanders. We're back in your life. Thank you for your patience. We were off for a week. Real life demanded it, but also I had a birthday. I mean, that's not why we were off, but you don't know that. So we're back, and we've got a hell of an episode for you, and quite a bit of catching up to do. I will admit, this episode is quite Jujutsu Kaisen focused. It's the biggest thing on right now. We were 3 weeks behind. We cover episodes 15 through 17 of Season 2 before we talk about our first impressions of Pluto, Episode 1, which I think we'll probably be covering, at least one episode per week going forward. We didn't get to Freerun, but we will cover that next week. That is also one of the absolute best things on right now, and I want to make sure we give it its due, so that's why we didn't get to it this week. There's also a ton of news that we cover. There's Marvel stuff, just different shows being renewed, delays. We talked a little bit about, all this production and scheduling controversy with some animes that are airing right now, Golden Globe stuff. Action-packed episode brought to you by the Comic Book Shop on Bank Street, 128 Bank Street in Ottawa. You can find them at thecomicbookshop.com or at Comic Book Shop Bank, shop spelled SHOPPE. They've been supporting the show for this entire year, so give them a shout. Let them know that we sent you. Check out their store. Obviously, they sell comics and manga and Gundam build kits and figurines and, all the nerd stuff. If you're listening to this, what do I always say? Chances are you'll like what they're hawking over there. So give them a shout. Let them know that we did. Show them some love and enjoy the episode. Oh, hey, Grant.
Hello, David.
Sup, chum?
How we doing?
Swell, man. I can say, and it's funny how Sam said this to me the morning after their birthday party. She goes, you're officially, in your 30s. She's like, you're not, just 30. And, 31 is barely, you know what I mean? You're still, holding on to turning 30. She's like, you're, deep into it now. I'm just in my 30s.
I love it.
And,
I forget. I think we're at the point now. I definitely had this. I had literally out loud, unironically, not trying to make it funny, was how old am I turning this year? Oh. I think that just starts after 31.
Dude, you want to hear something depressing?
Hit it.
This is tough. Dude, once my stepdad lost a year, working. He was he was building his house and just burning the candle at both ends, as they say. Lots of overtime. We've all been there, right? And,
yeah.
And I think, especially just everything going on. But he lost a year. One year he was oh, I'm turning 45. And then he's wait a minute. I'm turning 46.
Wow.
That's fucked up.
That's the way it be.
And you know what's crazy? It's probably going to happen to us.
Fucking A.
If we make it that far. All right. So, man, we have a lot to catch up on.
We do. A lot of good stuff. A lot of really good stuff to catch up on, which is fun.
Yeah, it's mostly, just a lot of really fun stuff has happened. There's also lots of news. But, yeah, we've got, 3 weeks worth of high-profile anime to cover. We probably won't... I mean, I'm not going to dictate how we handle this, but I don't think we're going to do, a 20-minute breakdown on every episode.
No, it's not the time.
Yeah. But, okay, so let's start with the 1,000-pound gorilla, as they say. Let's go with
1,000-pound
Jujutsu Kaisen. Yeah. Episodes 15 through 17. So there's your spoiler warning if you're not caught up. I was just saying to you off mic, this is actually kind of easy to think about it in this way. 15 is... What is it?
Toji and Dagon.
Toji and Dagon fight. And then 16 is Jogo Sukuna. And then 17 is Sukuna Makara or Mahagora. It's one of those things where you see that.
I think it's technically Makara, but there's some weird translation stuff.
Yeah, I think they might have referred to him. They have
corrected it.
Yeah, okay. In the episode when I saw it, they may have used both interchangeably. And then I've been looking at YouTube stuff and discussion stuff, and people are using both names. So I don't know what the deal is, but I think no one will be confused by who we're talking about. He's the second character in the
He's the real 1,000-pound gorilla in the room.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay, so I mean, let's give it a shot
Yeah.
chronologically. Let's just see how well this works and how quickly we devolve. Toji versus Dagon was pretty fantastic, but also quite one-sided.
Very one-sided. It was like kind of just watching. It was weird because apparently this episode had the guest director was I don't know their name offhand, but they were heavily involved in a lot of Mob Psycho scenes over the years, like major animation scenes. And I had watched it. I was like, why does this feel so familiar? Like visually, like it was a very different style and all that, but like kind of the motions and the kind of like the artistic choices were very like flash and go, flash and go, flash and go, which we've already seen from Toji, but it kind of felt different. And then when I read that online, that like there was like the guest director was like one of the major Mob Psycho directors. It was like, oh, that makes so much sense. It was like watching not quite Dimple throwing down with Psycho Helmet, but it was very reminiscent to that show, so I kind of just ate that up. I watched that a few times over.
That was a really good one.
It's fun.
You know what's weird to me about that character, Dagon, is like, so I think what they're cluing us in on is like his domain is clearly where all the curses and Ghetto are hanging out in season 1, like that beach.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's interesting that like they showed him like kind of in the background here and there, but like he had this whole personality in that fight with Toji, and before that in the fight with Nanami and Co.
Mm-hmm.
He literally says his first and last lines, in the span of like 20 minutes of airtime. I don't know. I wonder if like he was used more in the manga, or if he was like really just kind of here for this conflict,
I think, again, I don't know, but I have a hunch. If there was anything, because we're covering 3 episodes, and there's so much that's been covered in these 3 episodes. The one thing that kind of sticks out as like cut corners is the Dagon stuff. Again, animation wise, but a lot of corners cut. We'll get into all that, but I don't know. It's just there's no way to effectively really introduce that character and flesh it out. It's kind of just like take it at face value. Like you get what you get. There's not much to think too much on it. If it's in the manga, that'd be great to go into later. But I have a feeling they for sure just blasted through that.
Yeah. I don't have a ton to say about the fight. It was one-sided. It was fun. It was different because of Dagon's domain, like the color palette, like it being in this like extremely vivid, bright place. The fight was very fun.
I loved Toji sharpening the curse tool. That was...
What was it called? Heavenly something or other. These little details in the show are neat because that curse tool has been around since season 1, and then in season 1 we see Ghetto use it in the movie after season 1.
Zero, yeah.
Which was technically before season 1, so it's like, oh wow. It's gone like this whole... It's had this whole trajectory, and like it comes down to getting kind of taken apart in pieces by Toji just so he can skewer a crab.
And did Toji not have it in hidden inventory, and it was taken from him from Gojo, and then that's how Ghetto kind of gets his hands on it?
Okay, wait. Repeat that slightly slower.
When Gojo is confronted by Toji, or when Toji confronts Gojo in the beginning of season 2 in the hidden inventory stuff,
yes,
was he not armed with that weapon?
Oh no, he was not. He stole it from Maki at the beginning of this episode of episode 15. She was holding it.
But I vaguely remember he had it. Like that was one of the weapons he pulled out in that fight with Gojo.
Oh, that part I don't know.
Yeah, maybe I'm misremembering.
Yeah,
but,
maybe not. That's a good point. He definitely had a lot of weapons in that fight.
Yeah,
he had he might have had something else called Heavenly something. That was the forcible removal or release of techniques that he actually managed to stab Gojo.
Oh, he had that dagger. Yeah,
that dagger, and then he put it on a chain at one point. Then he had a long sword. That dude literally had a bag of tricks.
Arsenal. True arsenal.
Or a cursed arsenal. A cursed stomach of tricks.
Get it.
That's technically what it is. Okay, we're still in this first episode, but this is the episode where, so after the fight's over, they leave the domain because Toji kills Dagon. Jogo immediately appears and bodies 3 people.
Well, no, so Toji removes Megami from the scene. It's good tee up to see, because there's like some fun voiceover saying like in this state, and we also get the cue up that like Toji's like gonna essentially his battery's gonna run out. So my theory was wrong, or my hopes were wrong, I guess. But he's like based on pure instinct, and he strictly is going for the strongest in the room,
which is so metal, dude. That's like so dope.
Yeah.
Like that's so I love it. I love it.
It's great, but at the moment it kind of leaves you thinking. You're like, oh, like that's interesting.
For sure.
Why is Megami get knocked? And then we have like this most recent episode that kind of like the future is foretold like 2 episodes later of like why Megami was chosen that instant. And yes, then we immediately see Maki and Nanami get bodied by Jogo, which was
and the old guy,
heart wrenching, and the old guy too. Oh yeah, I think he's toast.
Yeah, I think he's definitely gone.
I think he's for sure dead. And then it was kind of very cut away for Maki and Nanami.
Yeah, he had lost an arm and he was old. Yeah. I don't know. But like, yeah, so you're right. Toji brings him outside. Jogo shows up, bodies 3 people. We'll see about how permanent those deaths are. In the moment, they felt like holy shit. They felt real, but it also felt like very cutaway. It was similar to the supervisor when the blonde-haired dude, the caveman-looking guy. Mahoro or no, see now I'm getting mixed. I'm not going to try and remember his name. But anyways, when he is the supervisor, and then there's a similar scene with anyways, there's a lot of deaths. There's a lot of like blinking or kind of screen cutaways, but it was very suspect the way they cut away from those ones. And then there's a major twist, which I honestly didn't think would happen this early in the story, knowing that Jujutsu Kaisen is like kind of a long anime or a manga at least. But Jogo finds Itadori, and the 2 girls are kind of hovering over him, feeding him fingers.
Yeah, gross.
Jogo bodies them, and then it turns out he didn't. But in the moment, he gets them out of the way, feeds Yuji 10 more fingers or something. So he has a total of 15 in him now.
Yeah. And they said Jogo had the power of a 9-finger.
8 or 9.
Sukuna, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I gotta say, they really got this right. Like, Sukuna's awakening, coming back, killing the 2 girls, making them all bow or get on their knees.
What made you think you could order me around?
Oh my god,
ask demands of me? Dead. It's so dead.
That was such a good scene because these characters had like just enough screen time for the audience to know who they were, and like kind of to feel for them a little bit. Like in the moment, I was like, "There's no way he's gonna do what they want," but also like, they've had like a fucked up existence, and like the one person who was kind of nice to them in Ghetto is like literally his corpse is being puppeteered. Yeah. Like, I got where they were coming from. You know what I mean?
I did like that the characters kind of like stuck true. Like it wasn't like it was just like a whatever death, like even like the moments leading up to them being killed off by Sukuna, they're like, please do something for Ghetto. Like they do kind of get like their last wishes out. Like it's not just like they're gone. Like they never really they weren't anything of substance. It was like it was very interesting to see them like have such a stance before.
You're right.
They got off by him. It was
because it was heartfelt. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, they were desperately asking for one more thing, and they, like, knowingly entered that situation being like, we might die.
Yeah, for sure.
And I also love that they had the characters touch on Gojo. They were like, we'll never love what Gojo did. But they were best friends. So, like, that's, like, between them kind of a thing. And I was like, oh, wow.
Sure.
Like, what interesting perspective to provide right before you get fucking filleted.
Yeah.
I really didn't think that we would see like a Sukuna versus Jogo fight, because that's what this episode tees up.
Yes.
And I was kind of like, why? I gotta be honest. I was like, okay, now you're just doing like anime fights for the sake of anime fights. But
yeah,
I will say the results in episode 16 are like absurd.
Unreal.
That's one of the funnest fights I've ever seen.
It's crazy to me that like, I remember, you finished 16 and you're like, wow, that must be the set piece of the season, like right there, eh?
Yeah.
We must be done. And then, like it's just the ante has been continuing, like to go up and up and up, like no breaks, but that fight is great too, because, it's funny because they do a really good job of having Jogo like really give it his all, and that still come across as like powerful and like, you know, he is doing his thing, and then balance that with, you know, Sukuna still kind of treating him like a plaything. Like, you know, they could have like undersold Jogo and kind of make it like ultra one-sided, but like they did a good job of like still continuing to fill out Jogo's like power level and all that, and like really put it on display. Like they could have, you know, it's funny because that could have been a corner that was cut, right? Like, you know, he was never gonna be on the same level as, you know, Sukuna and all that. But I don't know, I just I really love that. And the fire, I always love the fire ability.
Oh my god. So yeah, I agree with everything you said. I think I read a lot of Reddit comments and just community comments in general being like, Jogo is like off the charts, like especially the way he bodied Nanami and everybody. Like it seems like he just has the worst matchup history. Like he's stronger, it seems like, than most, but he has just happened to pick fights with Jogo and Sukuna, who are like the only two people, maybe. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Gojo, you mean, sir?
Yeah, Gojo and Sukuna. Yeah. So he just has rough matchups. But this is also, when I saw like how big, literally, they went for this fight, like the scale of destruction, I was like, oh, I think we're getting to like the incident part of the incident arc. Like,
yeah.
You know, he
drops a meteor in the middle of Shibuya.
He dropped a meteor. He made giant fire hands and pushed buildings together with them.
Yeah.
Like they like, I don't know, the animation of the fight, and maybe just like, I'm curious if the manga does it in a similar way, but it's just like a very ambitious fight to be like, here's scale, but also not like a Dragon Ball Z thing where it's like, you know, you're just smashed into like uncountable, characteristic identical buildings that are never ending. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you felt that the scale of destruction mattered a little bit.
Not to tease like too much into episode 17, because they have a lot of you know, similarities. You know, I think intentional similarities of like, you know, destruction and whatnot. But whereas episode 16 felt more tangible, like, you know, visually, like it was
for sure,
the fire, and where episode 17 is very, you know, I don't really think an exaggeration to say very avant-garde at moments and almost psychedelic intentionally.
Yeah,
I think almost like episode 17 kind of had the feeling of like swirling down like the whirlpool, you know, like kind of like everything's kind of just like washing out. You don't know what is what. The only like, it's just color palettes are your only descriptors between like the scenes and all that.
And more chaotic,
very jumbled and intentional, like true chaos. Whereas this was like energy, you know, just like pure, again, new fire and all that, and like the life of the fight. And it just, again, it's really cool that they can take two different episodes and make them so distinct when they are so similar. But yeah, I don't know, rest in peace.
There's also oh my god, that death scene was great too.
Classic.
I do want to mention one thing. I think, you know, and I don't think I'm saying anything crazy here, but I think there's probably more to be revealed about Sukuna's technique.
Yeah, because he kind of double dips into different abilities.
Yeah, he double dips into different abilities. He says that Fuga thing. And Jogo is clearly confused by it. Because he says something like, I thought your technique, or Sukuna's technique, was slicing and dicing or something.
Yeah.
Or like dissection or whatever.
Yeah.
And then Sukuna says, oh, I thought you would have known. Well, don't worry, I won't do something as petty as revealing it, like assuming that if he revealed his technique. You know what I mean? Like, that was, well, A, that was funny.
Such a sassy bitch, yeah.
A, that was funny, and B, yeah, it seems like there's more to him and whatever he's capable of than we are aware of. I also forgot, episode 16 is like the closing of the Toji return arc.
Yes, yeah.
Watching Megumi literally, like, run for his life from his father and just barely make it out of all these confrontations, like, that fight was amazing.
And not knowing who he was and, like, you know, kind of like putting it together, and, you know, it goes to show like how like really not a part of his life was, and then, you know, the little bit of Toji left kind of like picked up on that it was his son, and he had like the presence to, you know, end himself. And also like Toji throwing down with the white rabbits was, you know, a nice little surprise. Like, you know, because they've been using those rabbits as like a getaway technique all season. You know, they were introduced this season, and like to get them to see like into a combat instance and as the getaway, I thought it was just like a fun, you know, they're continuing to develop the abilities and whatnot. But
yeah, man,
damn.
Yeah, and also like the closure on the Zenin clan thing.
Yeah,
I thought that was awesome. Like, I wish Toji's definitely one of those characters I wish we got more time with. I think it was awesome to bring him back, but it's kind of bittersweet the way he goes, and like you realize like
a lot like Ghetto,
and I think this is one of those things that someone's got to have done this on YouTube already. Like he has a lot of flashbacks in the hidden inventory arc, and he even has flashbacks in this, and like someone should serialize them in order of happening, because like this flashback was when he sold off Megami because he didn't care about anything.
He's a 10, you'll get extra money for him.
Yeah.
Good money for him.
Exactly. But later in the actual timeline, right as he's dying, he clearly thought better of it, and that's why he told Gojo about it, right?
Yeah.
And then in this moment, when Megami says his last name, he's like, good. Like, you didn't end up getting sold off. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, I don't know. I thought that was
his name,
really cool.
Technically his mom's name.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought that was quite dope, as they say.
A touching moment for a zombie.
Okay, episode 17. It's it's mostly the Sukuna Makura fight, whatever. I think it's interesting that Megami was willing to go down with the ship there.
Well, I don't know, because Sukuna kind of like does like a moment of like, oh, sneaky, like he did like a suspended animation ability on himself. It's almost like he put himself into a coma.
Yeah, but the way I think that works is like, he's suspended if Makura is defeated. But what Megami says is like, but he's not going to be defeated.
Oh, sorry, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like he says, I'm dying first, and he gets whacked first, and then like it's Makura versus the blonde-haired guy. Like, I don't think Megami was counting on Sukuna showing up and trump carding, unless he was.
He had to have known, because I think he apologizes to Yuji, because he says that he apologizes to Yuji because he probably knows Sukuna can't, like let that slide or whatever. Like he has to,
He says, because he says, I'll be dying first, because they made a pact.
Oh, okay. I missed that.
So I think that's what it is. It's also worth mentioning. This may blow your hot or something off. Your expletives. He has tried to summon him at least twice before in the anime.
So I saw on Reddit, they mentioned this is his 4th attempt.
Yeah. So I can only think of one, and it's literally in the first episode. But he says, and I mean, like, it makes sense because like he thinks he's going to die, and he's just trying to save Yuji in that moment. And that's in the first episode, so I don't know where else.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I saw it, I was like, I should do research, and then I immediately said, maybe not.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, that's a risky one.
I'm looking right now, and I'm like very riskily scanning.
You're crazy.
This is all like. Yeah, no, I can't find it. I know he tried in the anime or in the first episode.
Did he try? Oh, did he try to do it when they were stuck in the domain expansion?
Oh, when they go, maybe because the pose is pretty iconic.
Special grade.
Yeah, the pose is pretty iconic, and also what the thing he says to summon it, he said as well. I just can't remember the fucking episode.
Oh, it's something about treasure ring.
Yeah, yeah.
Special treasure ring, something like that.
But like to your point, maybe he was playing 4D chess because he did sense Sukuna earlier when he was fighting Toji.
Yes. Well, how could you not notice? Yeah. Like, I think probably my biggest nitpick in these random episodes, it acts like everyone in the surrounding area has no clue about like the ultimate destruction, fire, like blaze that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I understand it's like a big city and all that, but like as if no one is aware to like, to steal from Bleach for a hot second, like spiritual pressure, like as if like you can't like, as if those entities are just kind of like unseen in the distance.
Yeah.
Because there's like a weird moment with the president of the school or the headmaster, and and he's just like, is that Yuji? And like as if you didn't see like half the world get like or half the city get like flattened out. Like it's there's a couple weird little moments. Like
and also just like why was Megami able to like sense Sukuna, but then the principal and the other girl don't? And also like. It's not a retcon. It is convenient that girl, I forget her name, she was Geto and Gojo's friend, and she has the reverse curse technique. She can heal. Yes. And now we have all these injured people who will probably be healed by her. Like, I wonder if she's gonna be able to just like fix Nanami like that, because that's the reveal at the end of this episode too, right?
Yeah, Nanami's barely alive.
Two-Face though.
Two-Face, yeah.
But maybe she
walking in
can't.
a lean-to. I thought that was an interesting detail. I'm
Say
sure
that
she has
again?
finite. I don't know, there's a really cool detail in that scene of him walking out, like on his burnt side. He had like a lean going, like he was kind of like leaning. I don't know. It just they could have just put him like straight up walking down the hallway or whatever. Just I don't know.
Probably
like
the nerve damage, because they even show his like more of his teeth are visible on the burnt side, because like that's very Two-Facey.
Yeah. But I don't know. So when it comes to like the Megami thing and summoning the last Shikigami, and that's the thing. I don't even know if that is like, because there's 10. We've only seen him use like 6, I think, offhand.
Yeah.
We've seen the dogs, the bird, the elephant, the frog, the rabbits.
No, he doesn't have a snake, does he? No.
I don't know. I don't think so. I said the frog. So that'd be 5.
Yeah. What about
right
it
now.
though?
The 10 shadows is a reference to the 10 Shikigami.
Yeah, and
So like you have to like conquer one before you move on to the next one, right?
oh yeah, but he explains that.
So
he says like you can skip the line, and he's like,
does he say that?
yeah, he's like you can try and tame it like with friends, and like it won't like you if you tame it or you subjugate it, like you don't get to keep it if you're able to subjugate it with friends. You're just like can use it in that moment. So I think like his point was like no one's ever been able to tame this one. So fuck it. Like I'll just bring him in as like the fuck this card.
Huh.
I think it's his,
maybe.
like that's why I think it's his self-destruct button, which is why he's always about to do it when he thinks he's about to die.
That's interesting. I don't know how I got it in my head that it was like a succession thing where he had to like work his way up to the last one.
Yeah, because that was like I remember because I love these that I will like indulge like you and like everybody on social media and Sam. Like I think a lot of people are saying, oh, their eyes glaze over when like they start talking about technique stuff.
I don't give a fuck. Hit me with it all day.
I love it.
I love
and
that
I
shit.
was very curious. Like, okay, how does this work? And so he starts like monologuing about like how his technique works.
Yeah.
And as he's crawling away from blonde ponytail guy.
Yeah, great voice performance there. I love it.
Agreed. And yeah, and then Gojo explains that like the last time, like the reason the beef between the Zenin and the Gojo clan is someone with Goju's technique and someone with Megami's technique got in a fight, but they both died. And so Megami goes, I bet that's what happened. He's like, I bet you brought in this motherfucker. Like, that's because like no one survived. So maybe there was a fight and like the desperation move on the 10 Shadows guy was like, well, fuck this. I don't know. That is my reading, but I'm afraid to Google it. Ask Leanna. Or no, maybe don't.
Well, that's the thing. Like I'm trying not to, like it's one of those things. Like I put my hand, like both my hands, like beside my face, and I like ask the question out loud. It's like, but don't look at me. I'm just thinking out loud right now.
Yeah.
I don't want to look at you.
But rewatch or let's both check the beginning of that because I'm pretty sure he's like, no, you can skip.
I rewatched it tonight. I do not remember him saying you can skip. I remember him saying like you can. I think he mentions that you can do it as many times as you want. Yeah. Potentially. Yeah. But again, I don't know. Maybe I pulled like the success, like the one in the order thing out of my head. But anyways, don't.
What was I gonna say? Here's my question. I mean, this might be like a moot point.
Sure.
But like, let's just say Makara was the 10th. He's the last and the unconquerable or whatever. Even if Megami got the other 9, like in the fullness of time, properly, like does he never get another shot at Makara now because Sukuna killed him?
No, I think he can. I think the point being is like he has to be the one to land the killing blow, or else it doesn't happen.
Yeah, but like if the spirit's dead,
because he mentions you can do it as well. Oh, I'm wondering. That's true.
It's like I took that as like died. Yeah, but then he like made it into that special one. Version. Remember? Yeah. Oh my god. Okay, it is pretty in the weeds, I guess. It is in the weeds.
I love it. This is the thing, and here's like my kind of like the inner turmoil I have with the show right now is, do I dive into the manga the second the season is over?
Yeah.
I want at the very least I should read up to this point, but because like I feel like there's just a lot of little details that little
extra.
Is it on
Shonen Jump?
Yeah, dude, it's all there. Yeah.
Okay. Before we briefly mention their scheduling issues, is there anything else? There's this whole fight is obviously fantastic. I don't know if we've said that yet.
It's great. There is some now. I think there's been some pretty iconic stills and just like a couple second frames in this show. Sukuna dropping his domain expansion, like just that phase, or like as he's kind of like, I think he had already cast the domain expansion, but it's as he's like laying the final blow, and there's like a shot underneath him working up towards the face is just like new iconic. It is
that will be on our Instagram. It's an amazing shot.
There's also a really cool shot. There's like, again, this whole episode, and it's so funny. Yeah, I mentioned it to Leanna. I was like, this whole Makara stuff, they're drawing him. Did you catch any of like the One Piece, like the Gear 5 Luffy stuff that was all over the internet?
Oh yeah,
like, it felt very Looney Tune-ish. There was a couple shots, like the way they were animating him, kind of like expanding and spinning around and throwing stuff, like chasing after Sukuna. It was like really. There's a shot or there's a quick little scene where he's like spinning a bus over his head, like he's like about to throw like a fucking blade, and it's like there's no reason that shot should have been like in my top 5 this episode. Like it's incredible, like the little moments they did in that fight. But I don't know, just groundbreaking.
You know what else? This is definitely by far the most time we've spent with Sukuna as narrator.
Yeah,
like listening to his thought process, like of fighting the guy, because like I don't think I realized that about this show until that moment where I was like, oh, like whoever you're watching fight, like let's say it's Yuji fighting someone, you're listening to his thought process. Or and if it's Megumi, you hear the same thing. Even Gojo, like when he got locked away, you heard his like, what do I do? You know what I mean? Like you get the internal monologue, and we got that from Sukuna, and it was like, fuck, you're deadly, huh? Like he's like terrifying. He is
straight up evil.
And I love it. Like, and also, dude, you got to admit, like, the like malevolent like laughter of like literally, I'm talking the laughter that he has done the last couple episodes that like echoes throughout the city. I feel like if you don't get the right voice actor and like the editing and the score and the sound mixing isn't right, like that can come across so corny so quickly, and like it hits every time they do it. He is like truly frightening.
There's one too, like no exaggeration, like goosebumps when I think he like announces like, so now you've seen my. It's when he announces like his ability of dissect or whatever. Yeah, and it's when you see him, he's leveled the whole building like straight through, and it's all, like the whole city has been kind of leveled for like a straight shot, and there's that like gap of air between the two buildings where he just cut through, and you can see that there's like a red light. Yeah, and his laugh after that, just like. This dude is putting in his, like, they got their money's worth on this guy. Yeah. Holy cow.
Yeah. Really. And also, stuff. The end is actually kind of heartbreaking. I didn't really, sometimes you don't know what you're going to get with this show, right? Because it is just like pure shonen sometimes, but then they do have some emotional notes. But I thought like they definitely stuck the landing at the end with Yuji coming to his senses, waking up and seeing like what Sukuna had done. Yeah. And like having his little breakdown moment. Oh my god. Yeah, like knowing they show the audience.
What a little flourish that was. Yeah.
That he saw everything. It's like, oh fuck, he's aware. That's even worse. Yeah. And also, God, Sukuna has a helper on the outside. Like we're learning all this. Oh my god.
Urame or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. And like we're coming out of this conflict. And like not only like I think the question we both had was like, is Gojo gonna lose this? But I won't speak for you, I definitely didn't think like, oh, like 3 out of the 4 cursed spirits are gonna get iced. You know what I mean? Like Hanami died, Jogo died, Dagon barely counts, so it's literally just Mahito left. And
Geto. Crazy. The really, it's, I think this is kind of, maybe it's a weird thing to bring up because like, again, there is like a lot of behind the scenes stuff going on with this show. Yeah. But these episodes they have just hit us with, I would be shocked if like we didn't get, Mahito is a major character, like a truly major villain. Geto is also on a similar level, or he's like the big bad this season or whatever. Like they're obviously going to get, some larger scale fights. I can only picture what they're going to do with Mahito. I am super excited for his fight. I
haven't seen Toto yet.
Haven't seen Toto. Again, apparently, I've read that Yuta is involved in this
Yeah,
season.
we were saying that this weekend, and like we haven't. There's still the Mai versus Ghetto fight that's supposed to happen, or is that like did it get interrupted by everything we just saw? Or are we going to see that next week?
They could backdoor that, saying like, get it for like 30 seconds, like, oh, they're about to fight, and then it's like
like
happening at the same time.
Station
like,
collapses or something.
Yeah. But I don't know. It's I'm excited to see all that. I did find it interesting. It was a really good reminder of like a backdoor of like, hey guys, like Sukuna's the real big bad here. Like Geto is like fucking small fry, and like this is who we're going to be going towards. Like this is there is like a bigger picture here.
Yeah,
and it was a good reminder of like this dude is like he's the devil, and like Geto is just kind of like one of his like just a lackey kind of running around doing his thing too, right? Which is, I don't know, it's very, very big picture stuff this episode.
Agreed. It also gave me, and I remember asking Sam, I was like, fuck, like, yeah, after you watch what Sukuna just did to Jogo and Makura back to back, I was like, fuck, even if Gojo wasn't locked away, like, could he take him at this level? Like, I know Gojo said he could in, like, early season 1, but it's like,
yeah,
I don't know, dude. What we just saw was pretty gnarly.
Well,
you feel like that fight has to happen in the fullness of time?
At some point. Like, you have to put it in perspective, right? Like, if Jogo was deemed a 9-finger Sukuna, and Gojo, like, it was like not even
not competitive.
Sweat is like beyond, it was like a joke to him. So he has to be like maybe at this range, like 15-finger potentially, or like just above or just below. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah, power scaling.
All, like, vague. So yeah.
Power scaling is hard, and that's like something a lot of shonens like really have trouble with. So
Curse of Dragon Ball.
Yeah, the Curse of Dragon Ball. But as long as we've got enough Sukuna fingers to measure things in this show, I think we'll be fine.
It's a fun little power calculator, which I never really, you think about it, you're like, oh, that's like a weird thing to say, but then you kind of see like the action play out. You're like, oh, that's actually like a really good barometer.
Whoever wrote this show or the manga, like, must have grown up on shonen, like, because these fights aren't just fights. You know what I mean? Like how in the weeds you can get in the technique, and even just like how creative this fight was. Like, well, Sukuna literally buried him in a pool and electrocuted him at one point. You know what I mean? Like, that's so specific. And he got hit in between trains and shit. Like, it's very very innovative compared to, like I said, like, let me just throw you through 15 nondescript buildings,
Yeah, well, I know like the manga Gigi Akatumi or Akumi. Anyway, so I know they have said like Bleach and Naruto like were huge,
there you go.
Influences, and Hunter x Hunter as well. So it's like I've read a lot of Naruto and watched a lot of it. I've read all of Bleach. I see Jujutsu Kaisen like holds a lot of like respect to those series for sure. I think Bleach more so. I think just kind of like the usage of like I was joking earlier, like spiritual pressure to like cursed energy, like it's all kind of like similar wibbly wobbly kind of stuff there, kind of all anime hypotheticals. But I don't know, I love it. Just again, but shout out to all the animators. God knows what is happening to you in your offices right now.
Yeah, it's tricky. We could almost do a whole episode on like anime production woes and like the overworked culture. Like it's just in a weird spot right now. It seems like things are coming to a head with animators and people attached to the show are finally speaking out on social media, and that's like a really big deal to the fandom.
Yes.
So I think it helps that people are so receptive, for sure. It's funny, right? Like, again, like this is a weird, and this we could really go down a rabbit hole here, but I see a lot of people online being like, oh, like it sounds like they could really use a union, and like sure, but it's also like the next comment down is always like, yeah, but that's like the most backwards that doesn't really fit with the working culture over there.
It's counter to the existing culture, and not just like in this industry. That's like a countrywide.
Yeah.
Unions are very. I was reading, a lot because there was a couple of very notable tweets went out.
Episode directors were big.
Episode directors, producers, like there's again
people tweeting copies of their work saying they're upset. People saying this was only 30% done, which is crazy to think.
So that did get rescinded. That one specifically, like it was kind of like, and the quote was 30% of, which is and I might be kind of misconstruing this because it's again translation, and a lot of people are kind of picking it apart.
For sure.
But it was almost, the messaging was not, the episode was only 30% complete, but like only 30% of what was a vision or envisioned was like put to page essentially.
Oh sure.
So
I
like
think that means,
like
yeah.
But again, it's cutting, splitting a hair or whatever. But the crazy thing, again, there's no, apparently, like, again, this is all conjecture and online talk, but like apparently Mappa's been like scrubbing screen credits from all their episodes because they don't want like, oh, who's this one person saying they're like, oh, this, like no one can verify that was the director for this episode, or if it's just someone saying they did work on it when there's no like actual verified proof and all that yet.
That's
Like
gross.
it's very, very gross. But no, I do agree with the union thing. I think again, I'm very pro-union and I'm outspoken on that kind of thing, but like, it's like you had said too, like you can't just make that happen in a country where that's not even remotely a norm, right? Like, I was reading too, I guess there was a huge push in the 60s and like, that was buried beyond belief.
Yeah, that ended
like,
bloodily.
It was like, yeah.
It's weird, right? It's not like, oh, people are upset now, flip the switch, okay, everybody gets extra time and better pay. It's like, this is like a very long-standing issue and a very like long conversation, but it is legit sad to see, especially when it's like art that's beloved by so many people. Like things that will like really, and I don't say this to be melodramatic, but like will legitimately go down in history. You know what I mean? Like the Attack on Titan special that just aired. Like think about how like riddled that show's legacy is with like production woes and naming conventions and delays and. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then this is like some of the funnest shit on TV right now. And like you can't get away from the conversation of how fucking hellish the working conditions are.
Yeah, within minutes of finishing the episode Thursday night, the first thing you see is just working conditions and like it's it's,
and a couple
it's
episodes,
hard. Like you want to
a couple episodes back we were sharing viewing figures and they're insane. Yeah, like the viewing figures in live in Japan, millions of people are watching it. And that doesn't account for streaming or for piracy, which is absurd.
But keep in mind, right? So like the studio Mappa's like not getting those advertising dollars for all those viewers. Like they are hired guns. They're paid by a production company to make this. Like that's all going to the owners of the product, of the IP, right? Like Mappa's just the one that says, yes, we'll do this for this price at whatever rate you want or whatever speed you want. Like essentially like they have their one payment and the goal is to do it, as cheaply as possible, get as many, like projects and this and that. It's where these like this is where this corner cutting is coming from. Like,
oh yeah,
so it's I know people want to like point the finger at Mappa, but it's like,
well,
they are like 100% at fault, but at the same time, like the whole system, like from the head where it's sold off to these separate studios is also the problem, right?
No, I totally agree. My point was more that like if this is being seen by 5, 10, 15 million people, like it has a pretty large legacy to be like so tainted by like how gross the underbelly of the industry is. And like to your point, like Mappa, kind of accepts the price, but let's not like relieve them of their guilt. They are saying, yes, we can do it for pennies on the dollar.
Yes. Yeah.
And like the production company should allot like a larger budget, etc. I just think that, like we've been saying, easier said than done, right? Like this, I don't know. Do you think we'll get an episode this week? Because that's like the talk now, right? It seems unsure after this most recent one.
I feel like we'd know by now.
If it was delayed?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm guessing.
I think one of the last things I read online was that apparently the time slot for Jujutsu Kaisen is like it is not being fucking missed. Like it's not cheap airtime,
right?
And it's not like 86 where they're like, yeah, we'll kick this to March. We'll find a new time slot or whatever. Like so it's like this is the time it needs to be aired, kind of thing. So it's I don't know.
It's crazy. Yeah. God, like I said, we could do a lot of time on this, but we are at 42 minutes and on our first show, but let's jump into Pluto. I don't have a lot to say about this because I only watched the pilot and I watched it last night. Oh, you did too?
Yeah, I'm only seeing the pilot.
I don't know why. For some reason, I thought you like blitzed through it or something.
No, I couldn't. I have too much respect for what I think this is to blast through it.
Yeah, great point. Okay, so with that in mind, we've seen the same amount. So why don't you start? What'd you think?
I loved it. It's interesting. Like I kind of had like imagery of like what this show was going to be, and I did not expect like oddly similar to Ghost in the Shell. Like, you know what I mean? Like very kind of deep, introspective, future sci-fi dystopian, like semi-dystopian story. Or I guess oddly utopia story, which is the opposite of Ghost in the Shell. But I don't know, man. I was captivated. It's not for the lack of like not jumping to the second episode. It's just I was just kind of like blown away. I was like, if this one episode can be in so many wrapped up stories into one, and just taking the time and the soundtrack and the artistry, it's just like I just want to. I plan on like watching each one like maybe once or twice before I move on to the next one.
Yeah.
Because there's like they're like 50. Each one is like 58 minutes long. There's so much in each episode.
Pilot was 70.
Yeah, I think the pilot's the longest. And I think
I know. I'm just saying it's also
crazy. 70. But yeah, man. I don't know. I watched it. I was like, oh my god, Dave's gonna. And fucking Bronson's been messaging me about it. He's like, yo, Pluto. This shit is awesome. Yeah, he's loving it. Yeah, shout out to Bronson. But yeah, no, I don't know. It's awesome, dude. Like it's I love a good murder mystery. It's like Blade Runner, in a lot of ways, and like I've always loved the idea of like the robots are among us, and we're finally at a place where they can kind of coexist, and obviously that's not quite the same, but I don't know. What are you thinking? What do you think of it?
Pretty much everything. Like we're in agreement. I think this looks like a movie. This is better looking than a lot of movies. I can't believe the animation quality. Like it's so weird when something like this comes out and it's like at this high level, and especially when you haven't heard of it. Like we're gonna talk about Freerin after we do the news. Like it is just weird. Like Jujutsu Kaisen is like the biggest thing on the planet, but like we kind of knew it would be. You know what I mean? Like based off of season 1
quantity
and the movie and the fan base, and it was like it's not surprising that like people are eating this up. When things like Pluto and like Freerin show up and they're like this good and you haven't heard of them before, it is kind of weird. It's like, what? How is this whole thing existing before I knew about it? But anyway, I digress. Is Pluto original, by the way?
No, it's not. So I did know the legacy of this show. You're familiar with one of the original anime, Astro Boy?
Oh yeah.
So Astro Boy was in the 50s, 60s. Was been very like iteration upon iteration of the story. But in the early 2000s, someone came out with a manga. It was like kind of like a retelling of the Astro Boy story. And it was like it's supposed to be like a dark adult version of like the Astro Boy lineage and all that, and kind of darker concepts and kind of bigger ideas, and about peace and conflict and all the stuff that the first episode kind of touches on. What is life, and who can take a life and all that stuff. And people are like, whoa, one day this will be an amazing series, and it's like it's finally here. Like this has been apparently in the works for a long time.
Really?
Yeah, it came out in like 2006, the manga.
Okay.
And it was like a big deal. People were kind of like, whoa, like this is a huge turn for like what Astro Boy is and was, and and you get this like amazing dark story about robot detective. But because Astro Boy's at the end of the first episode, they introduce him.
Oh, that's who that is. Okay.
That's who that is, yeah.
Well, because I've seen the boy in the marketing, right?
Yes.
So I knew that the Astro would be like a important part of the show, but I wasn't sure. Okay, so that's the Genesis. Interesting.
Yeah.
I love the second plot line, like in the second half, the old man,
the musician.
Yeah, that was great.
The character design of that robot.
Yeah.
In the cave, and just kind of like
the voice actor too. Whatever this quote threat or villain or whatever the thing behind the violence is, it looks very fun.
Yeah. There's the shot of like when he goes to protect the old man, he shoots off into the skyline, and you just see clearly like conflict happening in the clouds.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what?
Oh, and then his song comes through the clouds. It's like, no, don't leave me, North number 2.
I hardly knew you. And the naming conventions is just like so like 70s anime or like 80s anime. I don't know. It bleeds of different eras, which I really, really like.
Yeah.
But,
anyway,
people should watch. If you have a Netflix subscription and you even have an inkling to watching anime, Pluto is a must-watch on Netflix. Yeah,
like, there's so much anime out there. Not everybody has Crunchyroll, but like, if you've got Netflix, and everyone always complains like, oh, like it used to be better. They only put like one good thing out every 3 months now. Whatever. Like if you're one of those people, like this is one of those things that like, the cream, what do they say? cream of the crop, something rise to the top. This is like one of the few that they do a year that I think is a must watch, just based off the pilot.
I think, people kind of bitch and moan about Netflix landing some of these shows, but you can't argue with just the presence of Netflix and like all the viewership, right? Like they have, they have all the bodies, everyone at the very least, if they have a subscription, they most likely have Netflix.
Yeah.
You put this thing on your front page, like people are going to watch it, like it's, eventually. And it's just, I think this is such a very cool, modern way for it's very welcoming based on imagery from like the key art and stuff like that. You get in, it's like very in the weeds and it's very anime. Could put some people off, but I don't know. I think this could be a really fun first anime for people to stumble upon.
Let's shoot to have at least number 2 in the bag for next episode.
Yeah. Oh,
and if you watch more
now
than
that you're watching it, no. If you, how about we do Pluto one a week?
Yeah, let's give that a go. Take our time. Okay. And if like one of us gets binging, just let the other know, just in case.
Bronson, if you're listening, if you haven't finished it yet, you should come talk about the finale with us.
Yeah, dude, come.
I know Bronson's loving it. He might be finished. I'll message him tomorrow. See what he's saying.
Okay, let's bang out some of this news here, Grant. I think it was you who sent me this Variety article.
Yeah.
I don't have the title in front of me, but it's basically like disaster at Disney.
Yeah. Infinity War at Disney.
Yeah, I mean, I think this article was probably a long time coming. It was pretty expansive, and it was pretty. It covered a lot in basically like everything going wrong at Disney. They are like circling the wagons, getting into like crisis mode. Like, how can we fix this? This being the MCU and its underperformance as of late. Though, what's funny? As a sidebar, I keep hearing how fantastic Loki season 2 is.
Yeah. I don't know. I watched the first 2 episodes. I did, like I said, we haven't been talking about this weekend. I was talking to someone about this.
No, it was me, I think.
I really enjoyed what I like. It was just, it's like it's good, and Loki really excels at like the visual, presentation. Like they built the sets, and like, it's a very lived-in world, which I love. But I was just like, I don't need this right now. I don't need more Marvel. It kind of just put me off a little bit.
I think that's the problem. I think a lot of people feel that way.
Yeah, like, I think it's just kind of the whole Disney experience right now. Like, Leah and I still have not finished Ahsoka. Like, we just, like, got burnt out.
Really?
Like, this is not what we wanted. Or, not in, like, a fanboy kind of, like, stomp on our feet kind of way. It's just, like, I just don't need this right now. It's always going to be there. It's not going anywhere. Apparently Disney's scrubbing a lot of shit, though, so I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, they're saying, they're trying to get they're considering trying to get the original Avengers back. Mm-hmm. They are likely, or very at least potentially, going to scrap Kang, Jonathan Majors, potentially. Yeah. That's in flux. Yeah. That's not surprising. But it is a huge hit, especially if they've had him filming and they've released their timeline and their schedule and all that. And his name was in the next Avengers movie.
Yeah, he's supposed to be the big bad.
Yeah, so I wonder... Oh, and the Kang Dynasty, Avengers Kang Dynasty, the director left the project.
Yeah. So I did read he is still involved with, like, majorly involved with other projects. He's just no longer directing this one. Yeah. But that could just be a quick way of, like, he's out of this one, he's probably out of the rest.
Yeah,
so I don't know.
Who knows? Anyway.
Zom 100 is returning Christmas Day.
Let's go, dude.
It's a Christmas miracle.
You think they let those guys sleep, or have they been working this whole time?
No, dude. I wonder who has worse conditions, Bug Films or Mappa.
Oh my God. The Bear got renewed for season 3. Probably not shocking.
Not shocking, but love to see it.
Solid. Hey, is it a nitpick? Did that romance for you work in season 2? Like, now that it's in the, Carmi and the girl.
Did it work for me?
Yeah. It apparently gets clowned on a lot on the TikTok.
I don't.
What voice was that? I don't know.
The Carmi stuff. I don't love Carmi's personal life all that much. When he's he's just chef and running the business. But I don't know. I think he's just a bit of a whine ass personally, and the way he's leading that girl on, and she's her own fool for fucking falling for it and all that, falling for her high school crush or whatever. But I don't know, it didn't 100% work for me, and I think the final show, again, spoiler for show, but that weird awkward moment where like he's like shit talking the relationship and she's listening on the other side of the door, and I'm like, this is like the Office levels of like secondhand,
Cringe.
embarrassment for everybody, and like it didn't work for me. It was like, this is a lame TV moment. But
I do wonder what they'll do for season 3. But like, they did definitely prove that season 1 was not a fluke. Like this, season 2 is still fantastic. So
wasn't lightning in the bottle.
I bet they'll come back strong.
Yeah.
What's next?
Nintendo is now planning a live-action Zelda movie. The movie will be directed by Wes Ball. He's best known for the Maze Runner trilogy movies and the upcoming Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. So,
yeah, I don't know.
This is a bad fucking idea.
I think anything in this genre live action is just like, I don't know. Like,
I had a sorry.
No, go ahead.
I had a funny thought because like when I saw the announcement and like you and I were in the group chat, I think the day of the announcement, kind of goofing on it, but I was thinking, I was like, how are they gonna pull off Link without making him look dumb? Like, how are they gonna get him to wear that green hat? And then I thought, like, dude. Like, it immediately just hit me. I'm like, oh my god, they're just gonna do Breath of the Wild. They're gonna give him the Breath of the Wild kind of like, drifter get up, from the most recent games. I'm like, that's exactly how they're gonna do it. They're gonna market that. They were waiting for this game to give Link a new look to make it guaranteed.
I just really worry that it's gonna look like the live action Full Metal Alchemist movies. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I still want to watch those. I would love to watch those.
Nah, you're good. I don't know, man. We'll see. It's weird because this headline was paired with like, because of the success of the Mario movie, and it's like, okay, like I get that. Yeah. But that was an animated movie. That's like, one is not the other. These are not like two peas in a pod. Like a live action Zelda and like a Mario animation movie with like Chris Pratt or whoever it was is not like, because one works, it doesn't mean the other is going to work. They don't have that much in common. Very weird.
I don't know how their lesson from Mario was, oh yeah, let's do this as a live action. Like, they should make an animated Zelda movie. Yeah. It's crazy to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think, whatever.
Fortnite brought back its original map, which is something that its players have been asking for a long time, and had its busiest day ever with 44.7 concurrent... What, 44.7? 44.7 million concurrent live players.
It's insane.
Just in case you're wondering if Fortnite is still around, and like, because every now and then you just don't hear about it, and you're like, oh yeah, do people play that?
A lot of people still play that. That's one of those games where like, you kind of hear things like going off into the distance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, dude.
No, it's cool, dude. I get it. Little ones.
Yeah, little ones. Teething. Word. But I don't know. It's that's just one of those shows I know it's kicking no matter, or one of those games where I just know it's kicking no matter what.
Yeah. Arcane Season 2 is on its way. Coming November 2024. Way too far away. When I saw that announcement, I was like, oh shit. And then I saw the release date and I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, it's a bit of a bummer. I don't know. It's it sounds like they take this really seriously. It's funny because like we've been talking about all this Mappa stuff, and apparently like the Arcane studio is just very kind of full of life, and a lot of people really want to work on that, and they want a good product. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, me too. I got to finish the first one.
So John Wick and the Terminator animes have been confirmed and announced. I think the Terminator one's being done by Production IG. So that could be mixed results, but we just saw them doing Heavenly Delusion, so...
That fucking hit, so...
Yeah, dude. I think the Terminator by them would be pretty cool. That team doing a Terminator anime would be clutch.
Agreed. Ryan Gosling's I'm Just Ken, nominated for Best Song for Visual Media from Barbie, which, like...
Still, can't wait. I still haven't seen it. I'm really looking
forward to seeing
Barbie. Yeah.
Oh my god.
This weekend, I think. I might rent it this weekend.
Okay, if you don't see it in theaters, then, I mean... you at least got to see the song. I'm sure it's on YouTube or something, but the song is worthy of the nomination, in my opinion.
Sweet.
Go ahead.
Pedro Pascal, his next big break. He's playing Reed Richards in the Fantastic Four movie coming from the MCU.
Actually, perfect. That's what you said, I think, when I sent you this.
Yeah, actually, like it's
that really good one that like no one anticipated, I think.
It's weird. Yeah, I don't know why I never would have thought of him, but he kind of lands all those, like, the smugness of Reed Richards, and he can kind of pull off, the intellect, and, I'm sure we know he can do action stuff and all. He's been doing action movies forever now. Like, he had some pretty fun scenes in It's not a great movie, but one of the what's the British, like the goofy James Bond movies there?
Austin Powers?
No. The ones with oh my god, I'm blanking on his name. Ralph Fiennes is in them.
Ralph Fiennes.
Not the Englishman. Fuck, what are those called?
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about, but I've never seen them.
Fucking what's his name's in freaking Channing Tatum's in one. But anyways,
Nicholas Hoult cast as Lex Luthor in Superman Legacy. Dude, this guy,
I buy that.
so interesting. Yeah, he finally works in this. He was almost Batman, for God's sake. So weird.
That doesn't work.
It does not. But he's apparently been like just swinging and missing for a lot of these superhero roles. Finally got a villain role. Superman Legacy. My prediction stands true. That movie will be Gunn's first bomb. Just watch it.
Yeah, I don't know.
TBD. Ralph Macchio and Jackie Chan reported to be reuniting for a new Karate Kid movie. I hope this isn't true.
I am so down for this. You have no idea.
Unless, yeah, I don't know.
People said, like, you know, again, like, I know everyone kind of goofed on, like, the remake of the Karate Kid with Jackie Chan. I know, you know, and whatnot, but people love Jackie Chan in that role. You know, like, it was different. They kind of played on it.
I never saw it.
You know, a little. It was okay. Like, I think I was too young to, like, or not too young. It was, like, more like teens. You're like, ugh, I don't need to see this. Like,
right.
You know, I got the original. Kind of, you know, ignoring it or whatever. But, I don't know. I love the original. Ralph Macchio's coming back. That's got to be something. Apparently, people love Cobra Kai. I haven't seen a single episode of it. But
me neither.
Yeah.
Wasn't it made on YouTube at one point? Then it ended up on Netflix or something?
It was one of the first YouTube originals.
So weird. What a weird timeline we live in.
Dave Filoni has been promoted to Chief Creative Officer at Star Wars. So we'll get more more Rebels live action stuff is my guess.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It seems the shoe seems to fit. People aren't upset about that. Go ahead. Go get him, Dave.
Yeah, he's basically been doing it already. So just make it official. Give him
this one's big for me. Last piece of news. This year at the Golden Globes, we'll intro a stand-up category. Best stand-up of the year. Stand-up specials are being submitted by a lot of the comics that I follow, so I'm very curious to see the nominations. And
what's the one you're hoping to see get nominated?
What's that, sorry?
Is there any in particular you're hoping to get nominated for this first time around?
Put me on the spot. I can think of two. And I think one is likely. It's John Mulaney's Baby J. He's a Grammy Award winner for comedy, so, and you know, this is his first one back after all of this controversy, but it was a strong special. Ironically, I saw it live before and I didn't like it, but the special he put out I think is very good. And Ari Shaffir put out a special called Jew on YouTube, and it's fantastic. It is by far the best work of his career. Highly recommended. Ari Shaffir is a bit of a controversial figure, but like the content that he put out in this special that you can watch on YouTube for free, and you know, I think he poured all of his own money into it, but the results are really, really, really good. So I highly recommend watching that. I think that's about it. For this week, my friend. A long episode. Sorry we went so long on Jujutsu Kaisen, but we had stuff that we had to catch up on. All right, so cut us some slack. We had a lot of news, a lot of Pluto, a lot of Jujutsu. We'll be back next week to our regularly scheduled programming. I know we didn't catch up on Free Run yet, but we're going to do that next week, and Pluto, and then more Jujutsu. The world of anime doesn't stop. Thank you for your patience. We will be back next week. I think that's it. Grant, you may go ahead and say the thing.
Bye, guys.
Cheers.